What's up, friends? Welcome back for yet another video. Thank you so much for all the feedback on the previous stuff that we've posted. I say it all the time, but I love doing this. I think it's because I've had a lot of really great mentors and teachers and friends that I'm surrounded with. When they learn something, they're so free to share it with me, and it just accumulates to my knowledge. And so I want people to have that. If you don't have that, and I don't want to ever think like I'm talking down to y'all or that this is coming from here and you people are learning from me. However, I am doing this day in and day out. I'm in here making music, learning things, and so if I can share some of that along the way, that is the intent of all of this. Today, I want to talk about the art of producing. I think what's most important is to first describe what a producer is. I've actually found that a lot of people don't quite understand what the role of a producer is. Now, most of my knowledge and experience comes from sort of a Nashville-centric world. I interned there. I've done plenty of sessions there. I've worked down there. I've shadowed hundreds of sessions. And so that's kind of my framework when I think of kind of the skeleton of a recording session. I've noticed that in the Midwest here where we're located, a lot of times the idea of a producer is very hazy because oftentimes the producer is engineering, they're mixing, and they're mastering. It's kind of one dude or gal who is doing everything and they're labeled the producer, or they just kind of get that title tossed onto what they're doing. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or doesn't work, because of course it does. But I think that the idea of a producer goes much, much deeper than just someone who's pressing recording. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of sessions where I will produce, I will mix, I will engineer, and I will master. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it's sometimes good to have skill sets in all of those areas because, quite frankly, bands' budgets don't allow to hire individual people in those roles. And there's nothing wrong with doing it all yourself. As a matter of fact, sometimes I kind of prefer it because I can more quickly get the sounds that I want, and I can engineer it appropriately based on how I'm making some production decisions. And also, when I'm engineering and producing, I'm also already thinking about the mix, and I'm making decisions as we're printing down to the computer. That way, just I'm closer from point A to point B while we're tracking. But the idea of a producer, again, still kind of gets hazy for some people in the middle of this. And so hopefully this will help explain some of that. So the thing about it is there's really no one set way to produce music. There's no like, this is what a producer does and this is how a producer should act or interface with a band. And that's what kind of makes it a delicate art. Being a producer is, in my opinion, a person who helps get the song from point A to point B. It's kind of like a coach. It's sort of someone who is there to guide the band or the artist and the music, keeping it with as much integrity as you possibly can and getting it to point B. You may choose a producer for a number of reasons. You really trust their musical intuition. They may have some albums or songs that they've worked on that you really, really enjoy, and you're trying to get that sound onto your record. Or it may just be someone that you just have a lot of trust in. Like, you have made these songs and you know that this person is the right one who understands your vision and is going to help you communicate that to people who are playing on it, and is going to help you get that final product exactly how you want. Or it's a combination of all three of those things, and that's what makes it so, so special. I have been producing music for like 10 to 12 years. However, I was not comfortable with calling myself a producer until about 2 years ago. And it's because I really needed to kind of understand how I wanted to portray myself and what I wanted to provide to the people who are coming to record with me. Now, when I typically enjoy working with, I enjoy working with everybody. I really do, and I'm not just saying that. But there are two types of artists that I really, really thrive in, and that is the singer-songwriter. I love working with a solo artist, a singer-songwriter who brings in a song, and I am able to help them craft the sound around that piece of art. And that comes down to choosing who's going to play on the record, picking a direction, whether it's genre style or type of instrumentation or vibe, as the kids say. I love doing that because to me, the song is like a blank canvas. There's a story there, and we've got to pay attention to that story and make every decision based off of that story. But we kind of get to paint with whatever brush we want and create this sonic space around these beautiful, beautiful words. The second type of artist that I love to work with is bands. I love working with bands because it's such a different dynamic than working with a solo artist. When bands come in here, it's no longer one person's art that you're dealing with. You've got multiple types of personalities that are coming together and trying to put together the best product that they can. And someone may have had a terrible day, and some person wants the guitar to sound like this, and the drummer has this idea, and it can be a bit overwhelming. But I love helping bands find their sound, what makes them unique. I also love when bands they may have their parts written, but I just help them go that extra mile, find that extra 10% within the part that they're already playing, and see if we can squeak, just a little bit more out of that. Both of those are really good wheelhouses for me. I guess if I could distill down what I'm trying to say is that I love working with people live in a room together. That's just the way I like to do things. That's the way most of my favorite music was created, and I just dig that. Now, there are other ways to do this. For example, my good friend Adam Curry, who's an amazing producer. You should check him out. You should love his stuff. He's amazing. He will oftentimes get hired to produce a song where he's doing everything. Someone will send him the song, he's playing drums, or having his brother or someone else play drums on it. He's doing guitar, bass, all the keys and everything. And you get an amazing product from that. And that's an amazing, beautiful thing that he does and works really well for some people because he can move extremely, extremely fast. There's no right or wrong way to do things, just sort of different workflows, different things that people enjoy, how they bring music to life. Some skill sets that are very, very important if you want to be a producer or if you're hiring a producer. They should definitely have these things. And some people are better at them than others, and they still make great music. So it's all kind of, arbitrary. But to me, this is key. You have to have a vast musical catalog just living in your head. They say that you have to have like 10,000 hours in order to be proficient at something or be a master. I think that's true as a producer. You have to listen to probably more than 10,000, but just so much music and be able to absorb it, remember those ideas, and take them and synthesize them into something that is your own. It's so easy for me when someone that I know I've got good musical rapport with is working in the studio here because I can say, hey, let's go for like a Charlie Watts thing here on the drums. And immediately they know what I'm talking about. Or like, hey, I'm thinking we want to do like the Lennon thing on the vocal, like, double track type thing. Are you digging that? Like having those reference points within creating music is very, very helpful. The second thing is you have to be a great communicator. And this is actually very, very, very difficult because everybody is working from a different knowledge base, a different vantage point, and you have to be the glue that gets everybody on the same page. There are some people that are very proficient with music theory, and I'm very proficient with music theory, but I'm not like, like a jazz guy or anything like that. But I know enough that I can speak music theory very clearly and people will understand it. But then there's some people that have no idea what you're talking about. Like if you say, hey, we're going to play 6-4-1-5 progression, they're like, what are you talking about? So that is very important to recognize where everyone's kind of working from and develop a language within the session, how we're going to communicate. if you're communicating like drum feel and drum groove, to some people I'll say, hey, I want accents on that eighth note, and we're going to push the and of, we're going to miss the one, just things like that, that very, people who understand music theory will understand that and know what I'm talking about. But there's other people who just would just kind of want to hear it, or want to feel it. And so you can kind of tap those things out or give them sort of an emotion to go off. And it's your job as a producer to understand how you communicate with each person. And then you add a band into that. Sometimes there's people who understand what you're saying, and then there's other people who are off, in la la land and have no idea what you're talking about. Communication is massive. The last thing is you have to be a bit of a psychologist, and people don't think about this a lot. The idea of being a music producer is fun because you're making music and it's very romantic and it's awesome, but sessions can oftentimes be a very, very stressful thing. There's something that happens when people know they're under the red light. They know they're being recorded and they're being watched critically. Sometimes people have a tendency to kind of clam up. And you have to know when to push those people and when it's time to fall back a little bit and take a break. A session is a dance. It's keeping everyone locked in and focused. You want to be very intentional with what you're doing. Like, you're there spending good money to make music, but you also need to know when it's time to crack jokes and keep things lighthearted and make sure that the vibe of the whole group is still feeling really, really good. It's not something that happens overnight, but you really have to pay attention to the attitude of everyone in the room and keep people in a good, healthy mindset. Know when it's time to take breaks. Know how to communicate people when they're playing, like when they're playing poorly. It's like, hey, that was terrible. Maybe it's like, hey man, I'm really digging where we're taking that, but I think if you played it this way, that's going to fit the track better. No worries, dude. We're going to get this. I promise you. Just that slight shift in language immediately puts that player in a much better headspace to create music. Last, and certainly by no means least, you want to develop a sound. And it's something that you kind of have to develop over many, many years. It's a balance of like intuition and instinct, right? Like, I know that I can get good drum sounds, and I know my room extremely, extremely well. But how do I push myself to where, okay, I know this gear, I know this room, I know what I'm able to do, but how can I find something that is unique and creative and, most importantly, fits the song? You want to find this balance of developing your own sound as a producer, and people are hiring you for your talent and your service, so you do want to imprint that onto the music, but you don't want to make it to where it degrades what the artist is bringing to you, right? The band has a sound. They've been working for, weeks and hours and months, developing these songs. And it's not my job to come in and just perform surgery on all of this. It's to take what I do and inject that into the band and find some sort of cohesion where it's like, oh, I can tell that Nick Buffano produced this. Like, it just has a thing. But I also can recognize that, oh, that's that band playing on that. Like, those are those dudes playing guitar or their songwriting or whatnot. It's very easy to get lopsided where you can just kind of throw some mics up, record it really well, mix it really well, and there it is. But the job of a producer is to get the absolute most out of every recording and to serve the song extremely well, to be an objective point of view, someone who is guiding someone to the finish line. This video is a little vague, and that's fine, because the art of producing is vague. It's not something that you can just stick a pin in and call it that. But I would encourage you to take a look, like on Spotify or any other streaming service. You can find the credits of who produced each song. once you find a song that you really dig, find out who produced it and then go down the rabbit hole of what else they've produced. You may start to notice some things that they do kind of instinctively that you really dig and can incorporate into what you do kind of as you're finding your voice and your sound. The most important thing, y'all, is just make music. Just try it. Just go for it. Like, try and create something cool, something that moves the needle, something that is inspiring to you and to your listeners. And I think that a producer, someone that you trust, will really help you out along the way. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all dig this. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.